Welcome back to the Deliberate Exchange podcast. My name is Chelsea. For those of you who are just listening for the first time, welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. And for those of you who keep tuning into these episodes, I'm so grateful for you as well for continuing to listen. So today's episode is kind of piggybacking off of something that I wrote about that I sent out to my email list, which, by the way, if you aren't subscribed, I suggest you do so. And it was very, like, when I first came up with the idea or like the kind of thought, like, oh yeah, like that'd be something really good to expand on. I thought like I need to bring it to my email list, and then now I'm here on the podcast expanding on it because there's a lot more depth to it. So the title of the email was, I don't fake orgasms anymore, so why would I fake anything else in my life? And stay with me because we're going to talk about pretending and about the ways that we keep performing in order to feel safe and accepted or normal. And we'll also talk about what it takes to step out of that performance and into the absolute truth of who we are. Now, this isn't just about alcohol. It's about the nervous system patterns that keep us faking it in a lot of different areas of our life and how we can finally start to shift out of it. So when I first quit drinking in early 2020, I leaned hard on non-alcoholic beers. I had found Partake, which was a really great beer company. They were offering free delivery and it tasted pretty legit. And so I ordered flats and flats of Partake. And it meant that like I could mow the lawn and crack one open and feel like, yeah, this is like thirst quenching. And like I was still normal, still fun, still one of the crew. And then I found faux red wine because I liked steak and red wine. And then I found faux gin and faux vodka. And then I found faux secco for celebrations. Like been there, done that, tried everything. And those were all really necessary for where I was at in the time. And for a good number of years, like again, it's only been in the last like probably year that I've been questioning like, what is the point of all this pretending? And it came up for me just the other weekend at an ecstatic dance class that I was at. Afterward, the people that were hosting the event, they do a lot of mocktails and alcohol-free stuff at their coffee bar. And so they had shots of kava, which is a very earthy, peppery tasting plant extract that relaxes the body. Now the bottle looks like alcohol. Then we had the tiny cups. We had the cheers. All of it mimicked drinking culture. And in the spirit of joining in, I took one. But even before I took it, like I had this thought, like, why am I doing this? Do I need this? Am I doing it for me, or am I doing it just to belong? And I think that we've all had those moments, right? Like where you catch yourself going along with something just to blend in, just to feel part of the group, just so that you could avoid the awkwardness of standing out. I think like a lot of the women that I talk with in the She Walks community often say that like their lapses come when like they kind of say fuck it, and like it's easier to join in than to stand out. And like even for you right now as you're listening, take a moment to think like, when was the last time you caught yourself doing something not because you wanted to, but because you wanted to belong? Now, here's what's really going underneath that, because I think it's really important to understand like the mechanism, so we're not beating ourselves up unnecessarily. So we are wired for belonging. Like this is not just a nice to have. Your brain actually treats it like survival. Evolutionarily, being part of the tribe means survival. If you were cast out, that meant danger and likely death. And that wiring is still in us today. There are studies that show that social rejection lights up the same part of the brain as physical pain, the anterior cingulate cortex. That's why being left out or ignored or rejected doesn't just sting emotionally, but it feels like an absolute punch to the gut. On a nervous system level, we have what's called the social engagement system. And this is part of the vagus nerve. When we're around people that we feel safe with, when we make eye contact, when we share a ritual like a toast, our body relaxes, we regulate, we feel okay. So when we reach for the NA beer or the Cava shot or anything else that helps us blend in, it's not random. This is your nervous system scanning, am I safe? Do I belong? Can I relax here? There's also another layer, and it's called mirror neurons. Like, this is something that I actually do on my calls and with my clients if they're having a difficult moment, or anybody else that I'm interacting with if they're having a hard moment. But our brains are wired to mimic what others are doing. That's why cheersing feels magnetic. It's why we end up dancing like the people around us, or ordering what they order. Or like, have you ever noticed that, like, if you're talking to somebody who has some kind of accent, like all of a sudden you're putting on the accent even though you don't have one? That's literally how our brain tries to ensure we're safe in the group. And you can even liken it to assuming some of the mannerisms that your partner, or sayings that your partner might have. Now, the catch here is that if belonging only comes through performance, through pretending or fitting ourselves into somebody else's mold, then we're never actually safe. And so our nervous system stays on alert, and then we keep faking it. But deep down, we know that it's not real. And I think that's why so many women struggle with feeling authentic and having these relationships, whether it's romantic or social, where it feels very surface and we're craving something deeper. So where in your life do you notice yourself performing just to belong? And what is that costing you? This performance, it doesn't stop with alcohol. It shows up in so many different areas of our lives, like in the relationships that we stay in because we feel like we should, in the family that we will continue to see even though it isn't good for us. We're afraid of losing approval. It's in the curated social media feeds that look perfect but don't reflect the real life. Like, a lot of the times we're only showing the good stuff, the good angles, the best filters on Instagram. Or we change our bodies, like Botox or hair dye, that aren't necessarily reflecting who we are now, just so that we can fit in. And in the bedroom, we're faking orgasms because asking for what we need is really, really scary. And it's scarier than being seen. And none of this makes us bad or broken. It does mean that our nervous system is wired to prioritize survival over authenticity. Belonging is going to feel safer than being fully seen any day of the week. What happens, though, is the more that we perform, the further we drift from ourselves. Pretending keeps the nervous system on high alert. It keeps us small, anxious, and disconnected from our real desires. So let's actually take a minute and just feel this with the body, right? Out of our head, where we're kind of thinking about all these situations where we're pretending, and drop into our body. So wherever you are right now, if it is safe to do so, you can close your eyes or lower your gaze. If you're driving, keep your eyes open, obviously, but you can still follow along. And maybe take a deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. And just notice right now, where does your body feel tight or braced? Like, is it your jaw, your shoulders, your stomach? And now take another deep, big inhale through the nose. And exhale with a sigh. And let your shoulders drop. And again, if it's safe to do so, placing a hand on your chest or your belly and whisper to yourself, I am safe to be seen. And breathe that in through the nose and exhale. And again, saying it to yourself, I am safe to be seen. One more time, deep breath in through the nose. Big breath out. I am safe to be seen. And I just want you to notice what shifts, even slightly, when you give your system permission to stop performing. So the question is, and if your eyes were closed, you can open those up again. But the question isn't, is kava bad or non-alcoholic drinks bad? The question is, what are you using them for? How are you using them? Are you reaching for them because you are regulated and you genuinely enjoy them? Or are you reaching for them because you're trying to perform safety to prove you still belong? And we can go one step further, like what would it feel like to stop performing? What would it feel like to regulate your nervous system enough that you could show up fully, unapologetically as the woman you're becoming? And this is the exact work that I do. We don't just remove the alcohol or the coping mechanism. We unlearn the self-abandonment that came with it. We build a nervous system that can hold authenticity, connection, and joy without needing to perform. Because life is too short to fake it, whether it's in your glass, in your bed, or in your relationships. So if this episode has landed for you, if you are tired of pretending, if you are ready to feel what it's like to live from your real, regulated, unapologetic self, I would love to support you. And you can always find ways to work with me in the show notes, whether that's through a personal power map or my Rooted and Rising Breathwork series, or even one-on-one mentorships. I also have a 7-day micro regulation toolkit that you can access. Everything is linked below. And if nothing else, let this be your reminder today that belonging doesn't come from pretending. It comes from being seen. So thank you for listening. And until next time, breathe it in, be deliberate, and please be good to yourself.